Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. On behalf of Holt Construction, welcome to our series, Get to Work on Terminal 8, the strategic programming we have created in partnership with American Airlines to engage, inform, and hire certified MWBEs, LBEs, and members of Queens community interested in working on the JFK Terminal 8 expansion. My name is Chris Asara, and I serve as president of Holt Construction, a family-owned and operated full-service construction management and general contracting firm. If you have never worked with Holt before, you should know that when it comes to diversity and inclusion, our commitment is built from the top down and from the inside out. We have taken on the JFK Terminal 8 expansion like all of our other projects, and that includes creating a tailored, unique, and comprehensive diversity plan. I'm excited to kick off today's session, and I hope you find the information engaging and informative. On behalf of Holt, I want to thank all of you for taking the time to join us, and I look forward to connecting and working with you. Now it is my pleasure to welcome our project partner and familiar face to this project, Sade Olda-Peckin-Lewis, Regional Director of Government and Airport Affairs at American Airlines Terminal 8.
Hello, everyone. On behalf of American Airlines and the John F. Kennedy International Airport Terminal 8 expansion, welcome to today's Get to Work session. My name is Sade Olda-Peckin-Lewis, and I serve as the Regional Director of Government and Airport Affairs at American Airlines. JFK is getting ready to welcome a new American Airlines Terminal 8. The project will improve the overall customer experience with a total of 70,400 square feet of added space, including 33,000 square feet of public space. Another 57,500 square feet of existing space will be refurbished. The new Terminal 8, American Airlines and Holt Construction are committed to engaging, preparing, and hiring certified minority and women-owned business enterprises, MWBEs, local business enterprises, LBEs, and construction workers for the project. This series of programming entitled Get Ready to Work at Terminal 8 has been strategically designed for certified firms and the local community workforce who would like to work on the JFK Terminal 8 expansion. Sessions will begin in January of 2021 to help you open gates to contracts, jobs, and information. I want to sincerely thank you for taking time out of your busy day to attend today's session. As a small business owner, we know you have a lot on your plate, and we will be respectful of your time today. Today's program is called HASPS, Creating Your Health and Safety Plan. This important session, conducted by the Holt Construction Safety Team, will help you build and implement a health and safety plan for your projects. A HASP is an essential part of your construction program, and it will enable you to manage your projects better, control risk, and inevitably increase your safety rating, EMR, and ultimately reduce insurance costs. Thank you for joining today's session. We hope you find the information helpful.
Good afternoon. My name is Renee Sachs, and I'm going to serve as your moderator today for a special session on safety, how to complete a health and safety program, your HASP. Before I begin, though, I'd like to introduce our guest today, Edward Pross, who serves as Holt Safety Director. Ed has over 4 decades of professional construction industry experience, and he's responsible for developing, implementing, and managing all safety programs, policies, and procedures at Holt Construction. He's also charged with managing all claims on both corporate and contractor policies. Ed brings a strong leadership to Holt's safety team with his expertise in small and large-scale construction and insurance management. His field expertise and his ability to lead is enhanced by having held positions including labor shop steward, labor foreman, general labor foreman, superintendent, and owner's representative on major construction projects. He's a certified site safety manager, New York City Department of Buildings license number 608, City of New York. I think that's an important certification. He's also a site safety instructor and has credentials from Rutgers University and OSHA courses. Ed was also started as a member of the Laborers Union in 1983. So he's really come up through the ranks and really understands the very complicated area of site safety management for construction companies. And it's not something that you gain just by taking OSHA certification. I think, as Ed will confirm, you learn this through experience in managing different aspects of your project. So Ed, thank you for joining us. And with that, I'm going to direct some questions. When you talk about culture, as a subcontractor or contractor, we don't think about the culture of the company that we're going to be working for. And Holt has such a focus on safety as part of their culture that you're applying those standards to the companies that you're looking for. So can you explain a little bit about the kinds of companies that you're looking for that will align with the Holt and American Airlines culture?
In answering to your question, when every sub that applies to bid work for Holt Construction they're required to put down what background they have in safety. That safety background, what we look for in that culture, is that you're capable of fitting into our culture that is on the job, or is the culture that we project to mitigate the hazards that we see. So what we look for when we get an application from a sub is actually what their potential is to be a part of that program and help us make that safety culture work.
You know, I think it's the word culture that sort of challenges everyone. So in becoming a safer contractor, a contractor that's safety conscious, that really needs to understand how they can avoid hazards, how they can manage health and safety other safety issues, how they can prevent falls. It's that word culture is really the way a company would operate, and then how that company fits into Holt's way of operating, so that Holt, who's assuming risk, correct? Holt, as the general contractor, is assuming the risk on that project. So when a subcontractor has a situation, that situation goes right up to Holt, and that's a problem. All right, I think we have an understanding that you're looking for the kinds of companies that can fit in, that are really very safety conscious, that really measure up to your standards. So the Holt pre-qualification process is the first step in having a contractor or subcontractor qualify. And during the process, the application asks for something called a HASP, a health and safety plan. Can you explain what information needs to be in the HASP? Because I don't think that's really always available to every subcontractor when they're making that application. What can help them answer that? And what are you looking for? Are you looking for a document, a manual? Give us an idea.
Okay. First of all, what we look for is an injury and illness prevention program. Okay, that injury and illness prevention program should be geared towards each trade that is applying. So in other words, if you're a painter, or you're a company that has is a painting company or does painting, walls, whatever, we're looking that your HASP is geared towards the hazards that they entail every day, such as ladders, let's say, just as an example. So we're going to look at, okay, we know that they're dealing with the ladders, they're going to be dealing with small scaffolds, mobile scaffolds, they're going to be dealing with paints, with chemicals. So I look for, when I look for that injury and illness prevention, I'm gauging how that contractor would approach that, and how they would, number one, provide the education or the training for their employees, and number two, how they maintain that on the job. So all that included, when we look for a HASP, which is required of any contractor before they even get there, it's called a site-specific health and safety program. Thus, you get the HASP in that. What we're looking for is that you're focused on those hazards that apply to your trade. So by giving us that site specific, we want to know that you've got that pretty much covered. It fits into our culture, which if it's OSHA compliant and New York City compliant, depending on where the project is. But if it fits into that culture and it fits into the local requirements, do you have a person that can, and that should be mentioned in this in your site specific as well, do you have a person that has the 5 years of training and the necessary certifications, OSHA 30, or any of the New York City requirements or state requirements, that has that with at least 5 years of supervisory experience and can maintain your program? Okay, so those are the things that when we're doing the pre-qualifications, we look for.
So on the individual, the professional that is yours, do we call them a site safety manager or site safety representative? What's the term of art?
Basically, what we call them is, and I use the OSHA term, competent person.
Okay.
Okay, and the competent person often gets, and I know I'm going to throw out terms that many of the prospective contractors have never heard before, but the competent person by OSHA definition is someone who has the experience and the training to recognize and respond to potential hazards and has the authority to correct them. Okay. So what that means is that the company that's applying should have an individual that represents them in the field that carries out that policy or that safety program that you have written to protect your employees.
Okay, so I have a question about the competent person.
More of a competent person, more of a competent person than a site safety manager or but that competent person will interact with other competent persons from other trades. Okay, so that we're all in the same mode of safety together, but with each trade covering their specific hazards.
Yeah, so I have a question about the competent person. Is that somebody that a subcontractor can use on multiple jobs? Is it someone who's assigned to the job specifically? Obviously, a large job would require the presence more consistently, but can I have, let me finish, can I have a competent person that can go from project to project and check and educate, or do they have to be present on the specific project that they're on for Holt?
Okay, well, if you're and I'm glad, that's a very good question. If you have a site-specific plan that's for that site, that project, that person has to be in tune with that project and in touch with his employees that he's responsible for on that job. In other words, he can't come from this job to the next job to the next. And this is someone who's assigned, it could even be a foreman. This is someone who's assigned to that job for that purpose of maintaining safety for the time that they're there. That person has to be there when their company is working. So now, does that mean that, if he's ill or something happens that keeps him from going there, that it's going to stop them from working? No, but what we will look for is that he has somebody else that can fill in for him for time off or for, the fact that they couldn't be there. So we're looking for someone to be on site. Okay, now that person that has the qualifications may be in future work that we have or in other jobs that they bid for, they can utilize that person to do the same thing. Because, and I would hope that you would, because now you have experience of where we're at on our project, safety-wise, and the next project you have at Holt, you already have that step above. If you know what I'm saying, you can easily fit right into the program, knowing, well, I have to do this, I have to do that. We have to have our competent person there, and it fits right in. So the competent person is not someone that sets up this job, then runs over to another job, and then goes to another one. No, it's somebody who's there to maintain your site-specific plan within the safety culture that's on the job.
Understood. So that suggests to the subcontractor, particularly smaller firms who don't have a lot of resources to hire a lot of different employees, that the training of the competent person and the training of the second in command competent person, because there should be an alternate is something that really should be a focus of the subcontractor safety plan, as well as the way they operate their company.
Correct. You know, we want somebody who knows that can recognize potential hazards, that knows the hazards in their particular trade, and can enforce them and maintain them, so that we mitigate those hazards that are inherent and that always invariably happen just through human nature. But
Okay.
you know, by having somebody there to look over that, it creates the culture, and I keep using that word culture,
Mhm.
but our job culture, job-wise, job-specific, is to make sure that everybody that comes into work healthy goes home healthy. And
Okay.
the best way to do that is to have everybody be a part of it, because none of us is as strong as all of us. And I think that's what I look for, especially when pre-qualifications come in, that you're capable of fitting into that.
Great,
Culture.
thank you. So what are some of the other documents that are required with the HASP? Can you just detail some of them for us?
Some of the other documents that we look for, of course, right now with COVID, the pandemic and COVID-19, we're looking that you have, especially if you're in New York State, if you're bidding work in New York State, New York City, that you have the affirmation, which, and there's also a site, not a site specific, but a safety plan that is required by New York State. And that sets their culture for, it's also a executive order for New York State that we all have this. So that's another documentation that we look for. The EMR, or it's called an experience modification rate. We looked at, you have a rate, and your rating is verified by your insurance agent. Most insurance agents should provide you with a letter. If not, you can ask for it, and that letter will give your EMR rating. The EMR rating that we look for is usually, well, not usually, but most times is a 1 or less. Okay, and I get a lot of applications where people have like 9.5, 5, 6, 7, all these numbers, but a 1.0 is considered to be borderline. Anything below 1.0 is good, is great. Anything above 1.0 doesn't necessarily mean that, okay, you're disqualified from bidding, but that EMR is important, because if I see something that's over a 1.2, let's say, I'm going to ask for a revision and say, okay, can you explain why this is so high and what you've done to help reduce that? Now, EMRs they're complicated formulas to begin with. Most EMRs, once your EMR rises, takes about 3 to 4 years before it goes back down again. Okay, so the EMR becomes important, because if I see you're you know, and we ask for, I think, a 5-year period. It is a 5-year period. We ask for that because we know that it can spike all of a sudden and then go back down, and it gives a record of what your insurance rates were and why. So what we look for when we see those 5 dates over that period of time is that you recognize there was an issue and you corrected it. So that to me says that, all right, look, that they have a pretty strong program. They recognize that they've had an injury that raised their EMR, and there's many reasons that it gets raised, but that raised their EMR, and they were capable of correcting it, because you can see it's starting to go back down again. When we see that it's up and it stays up, that means that for a period of 3 years, you've actually done very little to help that, or and it happens all the time. The EMR is based on medical leave, as well as restricted work, and the amount of time that a person is out of work, that all goes against your EMR. So, and there's, as we all know, and I'm not there are a lot of cases that are sometimes exaggerated, let's put it that way. So we want to look through that and make sure that you're not caught up in one of those exaggerated cases and that your program is addressing it. So those are the main focus that I look for in these applications, that you're in tune with the COVID plan, which we all have to be, that your injury and illness prevention program is intact and working, and that you have, a competent person that can help run that. So all that being put together, when we see that there's an application where a company says, hey, this is what we've done, this is how we're doing it, this is, I myself, when I review this, will look for that quality and then say, okay, you know what? I have not rejected any applications, and I've been doing this for 18 months now. I've not rejected any. I coach, okay, and I will ask for revision, and I'll try and coach. And I've actually been in touch with some of the subcontractors and help them to get their program where it needs to be.
That's
those
wonderful.
Are the things that help me. That helps me recognize that, and I can recognize the quality of what the company is trying to offer, and I try and work within that. So, but those are the things that I look for, and the most important that helps me make that rating.
Okay, Ed, can you just take a moment and let's go over some of the OSHA, the New York State safety requirements, and some of the New York City DOB safety requirements, just in summary. I realize that could be a session in and of itself, but if you could just highlight quickly what you think the subcontractors should be considering and how that might relate to the writing up of the HASP plan that they give you.
Okay. OSHA is a federal entity that and I'll start with OSHA, but OSHA is a federal entity that defines all of our safety standards and regulations for construction. They, in their standards, which they consider the minimum standards.
Just in a snapshot, Ed, could you review the safety requirements for OSHA, New York State, and New York City?
Yes. First of all, OSHA sets the standard for from the federal level and is adopted by the state level. OSHA is what they call the minimum standard of safety. Any of the other entities, the states, whose safety standards are more stringent or more stricter than OSHA's, are the ones that you are mandated to follow. So OSHA will support the state if it's more than what they consider minimum. So where is OSHA important to us? OSHA sets the minimum, those minimum standards, and that's where your injury and illness prevention should come from. Okay, now when you're doing that, your injury and illness prevention policy, when you're doing that, you now have to consider the state you're in. So, for instance, New York. New York State itself is not as stringent as New York City. New York State is probably a little bit more tougher on the HASWAPER, on hazardous materials. I know they have a very strict asbestos program, but they basically follow OSHA, and the New York State, being more of a rural than New York City, is more geared towards those type of spillages, asbestos, anything that has to do with the environment and any mostly the environmental disturbances. New York City is a totally different animal, and I say that because New York City, you have a multitude of population. New York State, is kind of spread out, but New York City is so populated and so tight that the New York City Department of Buildings is concerned about public and property safety, and their Chapter 33 spells out the exactly how it does that, which is much more stringent than OSHA and New York State. So when we're looking at those entities just in this state, there in New York State, you have to follow, again, the most stringent standards. So you must be cognizant of what those requirements are for the area that you're working in just in New York State. Now, in other states, like even in Massachusetts, we have work that we do there. They require standards that are almost as stringent as New York City. They want a fire plan. They want ladder safety plans. So when we talk about OSHA, we're talking about a historical injury chart or injuries that base their standards. So again, those being minimum and broad because it covers federal or all of the United States, and the individual state, if it's more stringent than OSHA, is the one that prevails. So if you're bidding work in New York, like we're at some of our projects right now, you have to consider that you must fit into those standards. Okay, and we look for that.
And is it a good idea, because it is complicated and there are so many different levels, for a subcontractor to hire a site safety professional to review their plans and perhaps help them get them up to speed so then they can be translated and disseminated to the workers through their competent persons on a specific job? Do you recommend that?
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, many of the companies that have been applying, I don't know if they've worked on jobs or large projects, or if this is their first step into that direction. But when you're concerned about the professionalism and the quality that you can provide, you have to be concerned with the fact that the safety rules are part of that professionalism. So do I expect everybody to have a professional person? No, but I expect that you have a consultant or someone that helps you, that coaches you, that helps you with your programs, that can even write your programs to get you on the right track and provide that. And I would also suggest that if you're going to continue to bid in this arena where it's more of the major work that you're looking to get into, I would suggest that you take one of your staff members. There's plenty of programs out there, and get them trained. And the reason why I say that is because those staff members are a foreman, let's say, with their experience, they can provide if trained properly, just like me, they can provide a safety program and help you maintain it that's not going to take away from your schedule or from your work time. It's not going to interrupt work to make corrections or because of an injury.
Yeah, I had
Okay,
one.
I definitely say you should,
Yeah.
if you can. There's plenty of programs out there. Get in touch with them. They're very good, and they will help you.
Good. Just one last question. In view of the COVID-19, and so this is actually a two-part question. You can answer the first part very quickly. Does the COVID-19, if an employee, one of your staff is impacted by that and is diagnosed as COVID positive, does that impact your EMR rating? Because they're going to be out.
No, that's a very good question. I'll tell you why. Your EMR rating is based on what the medical costs are and how long you're away from work. The compensation board is the one that helps determine that. The illness part of COVID-19 is covered under OSHA, and it's covered in a very odd way. You have to prove that you contracted that disease at the project. Okay, so or wherever you got it from. The Board of Health is involved, the CDC is involved, of course, and that determination it would have to prove that it became a recordable injury or illness. Yeah. Recordable is as you get into your injury and illness prevention programs that are compliant with OSHA. A recordable is something that is beyond first aid to correct an injury or an illness. So an over a hospital stay or emergency room treatment or even an X-ray is considered recordable because it's a prescription. Anything more than first aid. So when it comes to COVID-19, it's kind of, you have to prove that where you got it from, and that, don't forget that when you fill out the affirmation, it's going to tell you that you have to have a method of everybody that you came in contact with, and that contact could reach beyond the job. So unless there's positive proof that it came from the job, then it's what they call compensable.
Yeah, it's a very muddy area now because it impacts the other workers as well. And I was just wondering if it would impact the EMR rating. But I think we've come to, actually, I had one other question. Should you, in your plan, should you also include the treatment procedures? So if a worker becomes injured on the job, should your plan include what the next step is? Do you go to urgent care? Do you go to the nearest hospital? Should there be instructions for how that is handled in the plan?
Yes. First of all, if one of your employees are injured on a whole project, the first thing you have to do, of course, is take care of the employee, make sure that they're okay. The second thing that we look for is a investigative report by your competent person. What caused the accident? What was the root cause? And what have you done to correct that? 99% of the accidents that occur with injuries on a project are due to human error. We've had some that were even though we had the proper PPE and the proper protective culture in place, an accident happened because the wind blew, or pushed this over, or it pushed something into me. I got struck by something that was caused by the wind. I mean, there's things that we can't account for, but for the most part, what you should be concerned with is when you report the injury right away, get help for the person first, report the injury right away, do an investigative report, take pictures. Any of the equipment that was involved, if it was a ladder or whatever, that ladder should be taken out of service and tagged. And this should all be in your injury and illness prevention program, or your site-specific. Let me rephrase that. This should be in your site-specific plan. And that site-specific plan should say that if a injury were to occur, our competent person will provide the necessary information, get the proper help, and let me step back 1 second. Your site-specific plan should indicate the nearest hospital or facility, okay? And there should be a contact in there, but that would be the place that if the injury is severe enough or required more than urgent care or more than first aid, that's where that person's going to go. And then we would arrange, we would help you arrange for transporting that person if need be, or getting help to them right away. Within 24 hours of that accident, your plan should show that you will get that incident report and the root cause analysis is what it's called. What was the root cause of this accident, and what you've done to correct it. Okay, so that should all be in writing, and that should be in your plan, that this is how we do it.
Okay.
One of the other things that we look for in a plan is we all deal with employee misconduct. You can give them everything they need. You can say in your safety plan that this is covered, they have the proper PPE, they have everything they need to work safely, and the employee will do whatever they need to do and end up, the first thing that comes to mind, ladder safety, where you give them a proper ladder, it's been checked, it's all good, and this employee is using the ladder, but in most of the A-frame, and all A-frame ladders, you can't be more than above the second step from the top, because there's no way you can stabilize the ladder. So I couldn't tell you how many times this occurs, but an employee will be on the very top of the ladder because he got the wrong size ladder, and he's got to get this done, or he's going to get in trouble. He's got to get that. But not being prepared and being on top, he put himself, he has put himself in danger. When putting himself in danger, you have to have in your HASP, what disciplinary measures will you take to correct employee misconduct? We look for that. So that should all be part of that HASP as well.
Okay, great. This has been, I've learned a lot. This has been very, very informative. I want to thank you so much. May we put your email or your contact email in the chat box so people can reach out to you, because you do offer that coaching to help companies better understand how to prepare that HASP document. That be okay?
Yes. I'll try and help as much as I can. I mean, we, to be honest with you, the amount of applications that we've gotten lately has been astronomical. But for anybody that even emails me, if I don't get back to you right away, I will certainly, I have no problem helping coach you or even pointing you in the right direction of a agency that can help you with your plans, or a consultant. And more than happy to answer any questions that you have, especially if you get a revision. If I've gone through and this is a promise I'll make to anybody that's out there right now. If you fill out an application and I go through it and I send you a revision and you don't understand it, email me right away, give me a number or I can get in contact with you. And as soon as I can, I will call you and I will help get you guided in the right direction. I would just like to say, in summation that we look for, and I don't mind coaching, having come through the ranks, as you've heard, I don't mind coaching because I think that there's a lot of good companies out there that are looking for a start, and they are that passion that they have. When I recognize that, especially in application form, when I recognize that, I do my best to help you, because I think that the companies that are out there that have that passion are the backbone of this industry, and I will offer all the help I can, especially if they're passionate as we are about safety. And I wish everybody luck. And if there's any questions that I can answer at any time, I'll do my best to get back to you.
Thank you, Ed. And now we're going to take questions from the audience. Thank you very much.